Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about movies, TV and online content and help you answer the question, where was Anthony Hopkins? Nobody knows. It's been left unanswered.
That was such that big, pregnant pause or whatever you want to call
it. I'm very good at these pregnant pauses. I am your host, Ashley Hobley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
I didn't even want to, say anything. I was just like, what's going to happen next? Where's it go from here? Kind of thing.
Yeah. Nobody knows where he is now. It's crazy.
No.
It's weird.
True. Yeah. Where is he? No one knows.
I can't believe they ended the Oscars on a cliffhanger like that.
It's crazy. Who'd have thought?
All right. We've got an interesting episode this week. We'll be talking about what's in our watch history. Covering a little bit of news, and then we'll be discussing our top 3 for this week. We'll kick things off with a bunch of stuff that we've talked about on various places here at the Explosion Network. Mortal Kombat came out the day before the last episode released. So that was 22nd of April. We've got a spoiler cast up on this podcast feed, but Dylan, do you want to share your non-spoilery thoughts for people who've been waiting to hear them for 2 weeks?
It's all right. It's a bit of fun. It's the script of something that you would expect out of a Mortal Kombat movie, I guess. It's funnier than it deserves to be, and I would be more. I'm keen for a sequel, but I feel like the first movie's very much setting up the pieces for. It feels a lot more like a prologue than a first film. But yeah, it's enjoyable time. Kano wins.
Kano does win. I had a really good time watching the film as well. I think I gave it a 7.5 on the website. Surprisingly funny, way funnier than you expect it to be. Very violent. The action is quite good. It's kind of just what you kind of expect from a Mortal Kombat movie, except it's actually not Annihilation, so that's an improvement. But yeah, if you've watched Mortal Kombat, and let's be honest, there's not much in this in a moment to watch, so you should see it as long as you're over 18. You can go listen to our Spoilercast podcast.
Sneak in.
Yeah. I'm not going to condone that. Yeah. Then we had the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The complete season ended. If you want to hear episode by episode breakdowns, you go listen to All New Marvel Cast. But Dylan, what are your thoughts on the first season or the season of Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Yeah, it's good. It's not anywhere near as good as WandaVision, in my opinion, but I enjoyed it for the most part. I feel like it kind of dogs its new characters a bit in different sort of ways. Like, one just doesn't really get enough time. The other one, they try to tell a story which I just don't think works for that character, or they don't make it work within the series. But and then by the end of the show, it seems to rush through a lot of big character moments and feel good things, which work. They do make you feel good, but then it's one of those things where you step back and you're like, that feels like it needed more time, or it wasn't just a one note I've saved the world. It's it's like someone coming out and saying, well, I've decided to solve racism today. And, here's the thing. So anyway, all that stuff aside, it's generally very good. It sets up Falcon going forward to be quite a big player and much more interesting character in the MCU.
To be Captain America.
Well, I don't know if that was a spoiler or not, so I was
I don't think it is. I think it's all over the internet, so.
Okay, well, yeah, I wasn't sure how much is open.
I mean, if I'm the one who spoiled you, I would be shocked.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, well, no, you've said it. So it sets him up to be Captain America, which is really interesting for that character going forward, and that was a great moment, obviously. And even Bucky's gets a lot more character work in this one, although I would have preferred to almost have had him in his own show where he's sort of brooding and down, it's like Jessica Jones, but Winter Soldier or something like that to a degree. In fact, Jessica Jones and Winter Soldier TV show would be it's kind of my dream crossover at this stage. I just want them both, But I can't really do it now because he's happy by the end of the show, I guess. So I don't know, go back to it before.
There's still time.
He's like
can get
hires
more
Jessica
wintry.
Jones. He hires Jessica Jones to help him track down the people he wants to say sorry for.
Yeah,
that's the
other people
the
wants to
tie-in
be-
one.
Yeah,
Yeah, but no, I enjoyed it. I just after coming off WandaVision, which I think is like amazing and just does so many fresh new things for MCU, this one's just it's good. It's nothing, didn't blow me away there.
yeah. I liked it as well. I don't think it is as good as WandaVision was. I think maybe they were just trying to tackle too many social issues at once. You know, obviously. I also watched the Marvel Disassembled. No,
It's
whatever
like
the-
their version of
whatever they're
Mandalorian
making
behind
of.
the scenes thing.
Yeah, behind the scenes thing, where they pretty much were talking about how they were. The season was mainly to set up Falcon as Captain America and what that would mean for a black person to carry the mantle and that kind of thing, and sort of a lot of discussion around that. So I don't know. I just feel like there was a lot there that they didn't quite nail, and they didn't give enough time to, particularly the villains and the bad guys and that kind of stuff. They didn't really have much purpose. Or they could have been better explain their motives and that kind of stuff, I think, over the season. It just ended up being kind of short. But yeah, I thought the action in the show was quite good for a TV series, so I think that's probably something we should expect going forward. Yeah, there were certain interesting characters. They brought back, what's her face? Agent 13.
Sharon Carter.
And she's could potentially be an interesting person going forward. And other potential links to different things going forward. So, I enjoyed it. But yeah, it's not fantastic, I would say. But something that is fantastic was Invincible over on Amazon Prime Video. We did another spoiler cast with the conclusion of the first season. But I will say, fantastic show. One of the best new shows this year. Very bloody, very violent, and it just hit you with the emotional wall-ups constantly. And yeah, just when you think that the superhero genre has been mined for all it possibly can be, you've got something like Invincible to restore your faith in the superhero genre, keeping on forever as we get another 27 Marvel movies in the future.
Yeah. I think Invincible's my favorite show of the year so far. I still haven't really sat down and tried to process what else would be there.
Yeah.
It might be an old mate from Stan. That'll be up there. Knocked Up Australian. Whatever that was called.
Bump.
Bump, yeah. That'd be in my top 3. So this is definitely in there. Maybe I think Invincible's number 1 though. It's really good. I feel like if you should check this out. Don't like the animation thing. Kind of go, I don't really like animation. It's treated like a serious show. It's like I love how it's given this 40-minute runtime, like a proper show. It's only got 8 episodes. I would say as to the whole, just when you think superhero stuff might be getting burnt out, I would say if that's how you feel about superhero stuff and you might want to give this a go, I go in knowing that the first episode's sort of supposed to feel like your typical superhero thing. Like that's kind of the point until you reach a point in the show. Like that's the only thing I would say, because that's how I felt watching the first episode, where it was like, this is kind of weird how straight up sort of typical superhero show or whatever this is going. And, then it takes the swerve by the end of the episode. So, and the rest of the show going forward's great. And, without spoilers, the last episode's absolutely one of the best things you're going to watch this year on both a action level and just like character work and stuff like that. So, yeah, I loved it. I can't wait for more.
Awesome. And then we had the first episode of The Bad Batch, which you can hear us break down over on our new rebranded podcast, Hologram Entries. First episode of Very Bad Batch was over there. Dylan, why should people care about The Batch?
What a way to swing it to me. But yeah, I'll do just a quick promo work on that. If you liked our Mandalorian show, The Mandalorians, if you like listening to us talk about Star Wars on Alderaan Explosion back in the day, go subscribe to Holocron Entries. It's on everything but Apple as of recording, and that's because it's Apple's fault, not mine. So we'll get there eventually. It'll happen. But it's basically if you're subscribed to All New Marvel Cast, and that's where we do all these after shows for Marvel stuff, and we discuss like the big news and big trailers and the movies and all that sort of stuff. That's what Holocron Entries is going to be now, because as soon as Star Wars announced they got a whole bunch of Disney Plus stuff coming and they got more movies and stuff, it was like, wait, there's going to be like, we need more than just a, because at first it was like The Mandalorian. Okay, we'll just do one podcast. Now it makes more sense to have an overarching Star Wars podcast. So that's what Holocron Entries is. So go subscribe to that. Yeah, and each show in it, we're going to try to name differently. So the Bad Batch rewatch show is called The Very Bad Batch. The Mandalorians is still the Mandalorian one. So, Bad Batch. It is the Clone Wars continued. So I would say, let me put it this way. You don't need to have watched the Clone Wars to enjoy this, because Ash hasn't, and he'll speak to that in a minute, I guess. But also, if you watch the Clone Wars and you didn't particularly like that form of storytelling or that era, or just like a focus on the clones, and like if your favorite episode of the Clone Wars and you watched it were the ones of the Jedi and not the ones focused on the clones, or any of that sort of thing, this one's focused on the clones. Like it's focused on a group of clones, although they are super powered to a degree. They're genetically modified out of the cloning chamber a bit. So one has like, it's not ridiculous to the degree they're actually superheroes. Like one's just a bit stronger, one can shoot really well, one's like, smarter than the average clone sort of thing. But that puts an interesting twist on it. The first episode in the show was 70 minutes. I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic 70-minute episode to set up the show going forward. Added a lot more character to these to the Bad Batch, which I thought were kind of bland and boring when they were first introduced in the final season of the Clone Wars, and I'm really intrigued to see where the story goes going forward. Yeah, and it's good to have some Star Wars animation back, because that's kind of I know it's sort of a hot take, but I do feel like Star Wars animation is my favorite, even more so than the live action movies, because it was through Clone Wars and Rebels that I definitely feel like that's kind of like kept me and pulled me more into the Star Wars fandom or whatever over the years between everything. So it's always great to have an animation show to watch.
Yeah, it was a really good time. As someone who hasn't watched a lot of Clone Wars, other than the four the 4 episodes in which the Bad Batch team were in the Clone Wars, and then scattered episodes that Dylan's made me watch for various projects. I haven't really watched much Clone Wars. But yeah, this was really fun. I think the Bad Batch are interesting characters. They're a team of disfigured, no, that's not the right word.
Genetically modified is what I just said.
Genetically modified clones.
Well, they never really explained it, other than the fact that something went wrong and then they came out the other end like this.
Yes. Yeah, and it's interesting to see them explore a period in the Star Wars canon that we haven't seen much of, kind of directly after the events of Episode 3, I guess. In which Order 66 happens again. There's a cameo that Dylan didn't like. And other people weren't. I saw like a mixed reaction in the days since recorded.
Yeah, I've seen some interesting takes on that I didn't think about, and I'm like that. Yeah, I can see that. I can see why there's negative, like why people are pointing out these things, and I'm choosing to believe it's not done on purpose. There's anything more to it, because that would just be kind of weird. But yeah, there's definitely been some interesting discussion in the 24 hours since we recorded the Very Bad Batch last night.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good time. Like, interesting characters, and it looks like it's going to lead to some interesting stories going forward. So yeah, really keen on that. All right, let's move on to some stuff that we haven't talked about elsewhere yet.
I was about to say shout outs to the 15 minutes of this podcast, which is just pointing out we have a bunch of other podcasts elsewhere that you should go listen to. You
should go listen to all of that.
It's not really housekeeping or self promo when we're giving our spoiler-free thoughts. Yeah, exactly.
Most of that stuff is spoiler-filled, so
Yeah.
This is a safe space, except where I say he turns into Captain America.
Just make sure you listen to all 100 podcasts we put out a week.
Please. Quantity over less quantity here at the Explosion.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I had the opportunity to check out a film that was on a lot of critics' best of the year lists last year. First Cow, fine release in Australia, directed by Cherie Henriques. Tells the story of two men in 1820s America who it's an odd one because it's very hard to describe. The main crux of the film is they start stealing milk from this singular cow, the only cow in town, to make cakes and then selling them.
So I've been wanting to watch this movie for ages simply because of the pictures I've seen of it look beautiful, the buzz, everything like that. And I've just gone out of my way to not really look up anything because I was like, whatever, I don't need to know anything. And everything you just said, I was like, wow, that's not exactly I don't know what I thought it would be, but
two travelers on the run from a band of vengeful hunters in 1820s Northwest dream of striking it rich. But their tenuous plan to make their fortune on the frontier comes to rely on the secret use of a landowner's prized dairy cow.
Is it the first cow?
It's the first cow in the area.
Okay,
Yeah, because obviously this is not long after white people have come into America. And I don't think there's cows naturally in America. Or anywhere in the world except Europe. But yeah. It is a slow burn. It's quite beautiful. Shot 4:3, I think this came out before Snyder Cut, so...
How dare they rip off Zack Snyder's masterpiece?
I said it came out at Sundance before.
That's an outrage. No.
Before the Snyder Cut, so...
No, but he filmed Snyder Cut first. 2017, 2016. Know what I'm saying?
If nobody saw it, does it count?
He's an auteur.
If somebody filmed something in the woods and it's never seen again, did they really film it?
There was no 4:3 movies before Zack Snyder. I don't hear otherwise.
It's an interesting... Yeah, it's a very slow film. Very much about, friendship and that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's one that I've been thinking about the last few days and that kind of stuff. It's, very beautiful. Really interesting. There's nothing really flashy about it. It's just, about these two guys stealing milk at night.
Love it. Sounds like a Wes Anderson movie.
No, it's definitely not a Wes Anderson film. I don't know if it's for me, I think, but it was an interesting experience.
Every time you go to cinema and you watch a movie that's in 4:3, you come on this show and go, yeah, it was good and it was shot well, but I just don't know if it was for me. That's basically your... Anytime...
I don't think visually it's just the story was very slow and...
Next time you tell me you go into a movie and it's 4:3, I'm gonna put $10 at sports bet.
Well,
that you don't.
I don't think many people who shoot movies in 4:3 go for the big action, interesting mainstream.
How dare you?
Aiming for the mainstream audience. So
say that to Zach. No, I'm not bringing that joke back. That's fine. How dare you say that about The Lighthouse? That was very action heavy.
It was
with
something.
Masturbation.
There was all the bodily function as that film. So First Cow, if you can go see it, I guess go see it. Because Dylan can't. But Dylan, you did go to the cinemas and checked out Wrath of Man.
Wrath of Man. Yes, so this is Guy Ritchie's latest. He has teamed back up with Jason Statham for the first time since they did Revolver, which is a film I don't think many people have watched, and critics hated it, but I actually don't mind it. So, but this, I'll put this out of the way straight away. If you think Jason Statham, Guy Ritchie, your brain's going to go Locked, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. It's going to go Snatch. This is neither. This is not Jason Statham doing the British dry humor that he was known for in those first movies. This also isn't him doing his typical action movie character role, like Fast and Furious, or any of the, I don't know, like what's that car movie he did? Oh, fuck, I don't remember. Transporter. Like it's not even any of these sorts of things.
The car movie who did?
Jason Statham. It was Transporter.
You sure it wasn't Fast and Furious?
No,
that car movie he did.
His original one. I already said Fast and Furious. He loves cars. Everyone loves cars. Come on. Yeah. This, I actually think he was kind of miscast in this, but I don't know. The core setup for the movie, without spoilers, because you're supposed to be sort of left with questions for a lot of it, is the movie starts with this man, Jason Statham. He joins up at a I don't actually know what you call them, like the people who transport money, like drive those armored cars and they transport it between businesses to their like holding place, and then all that sort of thing. Like I don't actually know what that job's called, but whatever that, everyone knows what I'm talking about. Like people who do the cash trucks or whatever they're called. He at the start of the movie he goes and joins up with them. You have this whole like sort of training montage as he joins this place. Then early into the movie, and this is in the trailer as well, so it's not a spoiler, but you find out that his son died somehow sometime prior when one of these cash trucks was held up by someone. And so it seems that he's joined the same place, the same business that was held up, in hopes of basically running into the people that were robbing the cash trucks so he can get his revenge. That's sort of the setup. And you're still left with a lot of lingering questions and motives and what exactly, who was his son in that incident? Like, was he someone working there? Was he a bystander? Was he, was he the one holding it up? Like, you got all these sorts of questions and you get these answers as the film continues, obviously. But it's a straight up dark thriller. So this is not typical Guy Ritchie. There's absolutely zero jokes to be found in this. There's absolutely no attempts at humor. Basically, every character in this sucks in some way or another. I don't mean in that they're badly written. I just mean that nearly everyone in this movie has or does something that shows that they're actually just a bad person in some regard or whatever. Like, there's really no one particularly likable or to root for one reason or another. Like, Jason Statham's character is the one you're supposed to be rooting for, but even him, he's just sort of this dark, brooding guy who has little to no personality. And I kind of guess that's the point. And this is based off another film. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a French film or something like that. I think that movie's just straight up called like Cash Truck or something like that as well. So I don't know if that's just translated, like maybe the character in the original was like that and that's how they've done this, but it all pays off, I think, in the last 45 minutes or whatever it was, last 40 minutes, where everything does lead to a rather explosive final sequence where I thought I knew where the movie was going and I was like, yeah, cool. Like I did reach a point about halfway in where I was beginning to sort of zone out. I'm like, I don't know, like I'm kind of, like 2 hours of this, maybe this movie needs to be 90 minutes, I was thinking. And then they kicked into gear with setting up what the big finale was going to be. And I actually found the final of this movie, the last chapter, just to be super thrilling and great action sequences and this sort of stuff. So at that stage, I was like, well, all my thoughts about the characters are out the window because people are fucking shooting one another and it's fucking intense and yeah, all about this. So that was a lot of fun. Is it Guy Ritchie's best movie? No. Is it Jason Statham's best movie? No. But I would say it's worth watching at cinema solely for that last at least 40 minutes and change or whatever it is. But yeah, just don't go in thinking it's a typical Ritchie film because it's far from it.
Okay, cool. And then I watched the first episode of the smash hit sitcom apparently over in America, Young Rock, shot here in Australia.
Wait, was it?
Yeah, it was shot here. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, at least part of it, I think. So the premise is it's 2032. The Rock is running for president.
Okay.
And as part of his presidential campaign, he's doing these. I'm assuming it's a series of sit-down interviews with acclaimed newscaster Randall Park, in which he tells stories from his childhood, coming from a family who were wrestlers and that kind of thing. And then it's the stories he tells are from 3 different time periods. When he's a young child, when he's in a middle school, and when he's starting college. So it makes it interesting that the episodes kind of have 3 acts, and each, at least in the pilot, each act is set in a different time period. I don't know going forward. I would assume going forward that's going to be like, I don't know if there'll be much intersection, or like certain episodes will focus on one particular period more than that kind of stuff. It was a quite entertaining 30 minutes. I had a good time. Interesting. I think obviously the things that kind of stuck out to me is the stuff with all the wrestling people. Like his dad is obviously Rocky Johnson, who was a big wrestler at the time. And then in this episode, he goes to his his grandmother's house after a wrestling show, and he hangs out with Andre the Giant, Iron Sheik, Junkyard Dog, and the Wild Samoans.
Sounds like a start of a joke.
Not really.
What happens when they all walk into a bar?
Bad things happen, apparently. But yeah, there's like those sort of cameos and that kind of stuff. And then, so that's the 1982 section. The 1987.
Wait, who played Andre the Giant in this?
Matthew Willing. And he doesn't really look like a giant.
Is he big enough though, or is he
not really?
Okay.
When he was sitting down, he was maybe like a few inches over everybody else. They kind of shot it in a way like you get the impression he's a giant. It's like, but it's not necessarily that he is a giant. He's just working the gimmick. They use a fair number of terminology and that kind of stuff in the show, like he's over and the gimmick and all that
Andre
kind of stuff.
the Giant was fucking tall. It wasn't a gimmick.
He was huge. Yeah, but you can get away. No, you can't cast another Andre the Giant. It's pretty difficult. But there's a couple of camera moments where you get the impression he's a giant and that kind of stuff. But I don't know how feasible that would be on like a sitcom schedule to get somebody to do those kind of camera tricks all the time. Yeah, the middle section is pretty much him in high schools, pretending to be rich so he can get girls and that kind of stuff. And then learning the error of his ways when he comes across... He buys a car for $123. But in the backseat of the car is a homeless guy called Waffle, who teaches him life lessons, but then proceeds to die at the end of the episode. So Rock just leaves the car in the middle of a fast food car park and calls the police. Yeah. And then the last episode... is that
kayfabe?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a true story. And then, yeah, in the college years, he's starting at the University of Miami called the U. They were a big thing during the period in which he was there.
Bum bags?
How what?
Fanny packs? You got fanny pack yet?
No fanny packs yet.
I hope that's a joke later in the show.
Hopefully. But yeah, he's struggling because his dad came in and put him over before he got there. Like, told his teammates that he's going to be in Wheaties boxes and that kind of stuff. So his dad's trying to talk him up and that kind of stuff. Yeah, interesting. I'm keen to see more. But I'm interested to see how this structuring works for the rest of the season. But I mean, getting little bit of The Rock every week and Randall Park as well. It's pretty good.
Is Roman Reigns running as his assistant?
No.
Vice president?
No, I've read ahead. I know who the vice president's going to be.
Okay. What do you mean you read ahead?
No, well, I was looking through the Wikipedia page to see who different people were, like, see who was playing the different wrestlers and see if there were anybody notable, but they're not. So you can watch that over on Binge. The first episode dropped on Sunday, the 2nd of May. I believe they're coming out weekly after that. Even though the entire run is available in America at the moment, it's kind of weird that they didn't fast track this. And I've seen a lot of... I think they're pushing this one pretty hard. I feel like I've seen ads on like social media and stuff for Young Rock a fair bit. So
I didn't even realize it came out. I saw nothing about this on social media.
Well, clearly we're getting very separately targeted.
I've seen literally nothing. Okay, so it started airing on February 16th in America. Yeah, why didn't they fast track this? It's got The Rock in it.
Yeah, they should have known it was like money.
That's weird.
I know. Yeah. So, let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. Two big things I want to talk about. I'll start with Shadow and Bone, a new fantasy show based on a series of young adult novels. We're set in obviously fantasy worlds. Apparently it's based on a Russian thing, but there is this country called Ratvka, and unfortunately,
Did you say Rapture?
Ratvka,
Oh, right.
Ravka. Unfortunately, there's this massive section of the country that's in permanent darkness and inhabited by carnivorous winged creatures, kind of cutting the country in half. So, it makes it difficult to traverse from one side or the other. And apparently the country's at war all the time as well. Some of the story around this is hard to follow. It's very lore heavy. I would say this is the closest Netflix has come to like a Game of Thrones-esque fantasy show. But obviously a bit more teen orientated. Of course, this young woman, what's her name again? Alina Starkov. She's an orphan, and in this world, there's these things called Grishas, which have special powers and that kind of stuff. But if you're a Grisha in Rakov, you get taken away to a special facility so you can learn how to use your powers properly and become part of the army or whatever.
This is a YA series, isn't it?
This is a YA series, so so she becomes part of the army normally. She's like a cartographer, which is this whole thing that isn't really ever explored again. But she's made to go through the folds through a series of events, and then it turns out when they get attacked that she's a Grisha. She's got these special sun powers, which everybody hopes will be the thing that helps destroy the fold. So she's suddenly the most important person in the world, and that kind of thing. So, and then she catches the eye of Captain Kerrigan or General Kerrigan, this played by Ben Barnes, this the Shadow Summoner. So she's got light powers, he's got darkness powers, that kind of thing. So they're meant to be
classic bit,
but she's got the boy that she grew up with at the orphanage that she's all they have the awkward glances and so she's torn between two guys. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fold, you've got this crew of they call themselves the Crows, who have gotten a contract to capture the Sun Summoner and then take her back. Because they want her for some reason. I can't remember. It was many episodes ago. I'm doing a great job of explaining the show. But they're the best part of the show. I mean, anytime they were on screen, I was vastly more invested than Alina and her story. I thought they're the much more scene stealing side of the coin. So apparently they're not part of the first half of the books. They're part of the Six of Crows novel, which the author wrote later, and they've sort of incorporated into this, which is pretty great.
Feast of Crows?
Six of Crows.
Oh, because Feast of Crows is the Game of Thrones title.
Yes, I'm aware. Yeah, so, I mean, sure, it does have those YA things where, it's very...
Love triangles?
Yeah, that kind of thing, and, longing for each other and that kind of thing. But it is quite enjoyable, especially... I think it picked up towards the second half of the season and started to find its groove.
How many
and that
episodes
kind of thing.
is it?
8 episodes, about 50 minutes or so. Yeah, it's doing very well from what I've seen. So, yeah. I think it's worth checking out. especially if you've got a good tolerance for that kind of stuff. There's even this side story where there's this Grisha who gets captured by these people who don't like Grishas, and then they're forced to work together because their ship gets shipwrecked, and they have to go through the cold together. It's like Ygritte and Jon Snow. It's crazy. Parallels.
I was gonna say it's like the episode of Clone Wars where Ahsoka gets trapped on a planet with just
With who?
I think it was Yondu. I think it was. Yeah.
Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy.
No. Yes, let's just say yes.
Yes. All right. The other thing that was big for Netflix this week, The Mitchells versus the Machines. Now, this is one that I actually had my eye, I noticed a few years ago, I think. They put out a trailer when it was under the previous title, Connected. So it follows this young girl who's about to go to college, who's doesn't quite fit in with her family because she's very, she's kind of quirky and she loves to make films, short films and that kind of stuff. And so she's finally going to go to film school, but her dad, he tried to connect with her one last time, decides to cancel her plane tickets, and is going to drive her across the country to her film school. So we follow them along their road trip across the country to film school, and then the robot apocalypse happens. As it does.
What was that movie called? Robots vs. Aliens? Aliens vs. Robots? Something like that?
Monsters vs. Aliens.
Monsters vs. Aliens. Oh, damn. I thought it was robots.
No robots. This is such a fun time. It is very beautiful, animated. I think animated very similarly to Into the Spider-Verse, with that certain 2D look to it. And
I can't remember who, but someone on my timeline the other day said this is better than Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
I was like,
some crazy person. It's not better than Into the Spider-Verse. It is very good. There's some logic stuff that doesn't quite work, but it's definitely going for a different type of humor. Obviously, produced by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. That's the right combination of words.
You got it right.
So it is leaning more towards Lego movie type of humor than it is Spider-Verse seriousness. It is. It's 2 hours and a bit. It is a bit long, but it is a really good time. It hits the emotional beats that it needs to hit, and there's a lot of funny gags along the way. It's talking about technology and how much we use it and how much we rely on it, and then how quickly we're willing to dispose of it when something new and better comes along. It is a great time, and it's on Netflix, so you should definitely go around and check it out.
2 hours is quite long for a family.
It is quite long for an animated movie, which I suspect might be a reason that Sony were happy to sell to Netflix, maybe.
I often wonder with these sorts of scenarios where, so this comes out, and I've seen this a lot on Twitter. People are loving this. It's getting a lot of buzz. But you do wonder because basically anytime an animated movie comes out in the cinema, if it's not Disney, people probably won't watch it unless it gets that word of mouth. Whereas I feel like if this came out to cinema, would we actually be talking about it at all? Or is it because it came out Netflix and then everyone's like, oh, new movie, cool, I'll watch it kind of thing. Now all of a sudden it's going to get a lot more. This is a scenario where maybe it better suits this. Actually, Netflix got it for the film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, I think the other good comparison is Wolfwalkers. Would anybody have been talking about it as much if it hadn't been on Apple TV Plus? In the critical community? Well, I guess they see everything, so I guess it still would have risen to the top. But
I feel like that movie would have done so much better if it was on Netflix.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's true. Or on Apple TV in 5 years' time when people actually actually got a solid slate and a lot of people are on it.
Even coming out, if Wolfwalkers came out next week, it would probably do better next week than when it came out. Because I feel like more people are on board now after Ted Lasso and all this sort of stuff, and they understand that. Like even Nick's been looking at his Trakt. He's been watching a bunch of Apple stuff, so like he's finally figured out that we're not lying.
He finally listened to us.
Not lying every time we say you can watch the Apple TV stuff without having an Apple device. Product. Yeah. So you should go watch. If you haven't watched Wolf Walkers, watch Wolf Walkers. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think you should definitely watch this film because the main character is kind of like a younger you. It's kind of crazy.
I'm gonna watch it. I was gonna try and watch it before this. I've just had my ass up Video Game Central this week, so
bloody video games.
Look, I have to play more games. You have to watch more stuff, and that's how we balance out the Explosion Network podcast. Yes. It's like Thanos with the knife.
It's all about balance. Yes, that's kind of everything we've been watching. Let's move into a little bit of news. I guess we can kind of tie it into the other thing that we watched last week, the Oscars. Of course, if you want to go back, we did an Oscar discussion.
Spoilercast.
Spoilercast, almost like several hours removed from the show. So in the week since, we have learnt a number of different things. Of course, Anthony Hopkins did give a speech from an undisclosed location, thanking the Academy and that kind of thing, like on his mobile phone or whatever. And it turns out that he would have liked to have been there, but he could only have been there via Zoom call because he couldn't get to one of the bubbles that they set up for in London or in Ireland. So, and they decided no Zoom calls. They put a hard and fast rule. Do you think it would have been the show would have worked with Zoom calls, or do you think they made a right choice to stick to live?
Look, I understand. Look,
bedrooms.
I get their reasoning. Their reasoning is, we don't want to trust people because their audio sound shit, or they'll have technical problems. Blah 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 blah. I understand that reasoning, but then my response to that isn't, so tell everyone hard and fast, you cannot do it. You have zero chance of doing a speech if you don't get down there. My response to that would then be, all right, well, tell everyone to record some sort of thank you message, send it in, and then you'll have something. Because I feel like that's better than nothing, right? That's better than just going, well, if you can't make it, no Zoom calls, get fucked. Because then look what happened. So I don't know why they didn't just tell every single person that was nominated, record a 90 seconds or less thank you message if you can't make it to the bubble, and we'll play it if you win. Problem solved. I don't understand. Because then what's the problem? How do you fuck up?
What if those tapes get out? All these people embarrassed that they send in tapes for an accepting award they're never going to get.
Yeah, I think that the other places have done similar things. I don't think it would be that weird. How does that affect anyone? What's going to leak?
I don't know. So the other thing is obviously the ending of the Oscars. We had Best Actor gone last, and they confirmed our running theory that it was. They assumed Chadwick Boseman would win Best Actor, and they were worried that once his widow accepted award, that no one could really follow that up. That would be such an emotional moment that, they couldn't really expect anybody to follow it up. But Anthony Hopkins ruining plans everywhere.
I feel bad for him because people are just hating on him for no reason.
It's interesting to see the reaction in this last week. Even Chadwick's family kind of came out and said he wasn't snubbed. And that kind of thing, trying to, I guess, placate people, stop them from being upset. But, I don't know how much that actually helped. I think people it's not a snub if you don't win. And can we clarify? An Oscar snub is if someone says it's an Oscar snub, that usually refers to, at least throughout my lifetime, that refers to if something not getting nominated. An Oscar snub does not mean the thing you thought should have won didn't win. When anything other than Green Book he was robbed. That's the correct term.
Yeah. if you want to go down that road, then yes, just say it's robbed. But I have seen a lot of people saying he got snubbed. I'm like, no, that's wrong. He wasn't snubbed. Let's get the terminology right.
Yeah, so I guess the ratings are the big story coming out of the show. Obviously, I don't know. I don't think people expected there to be very good ratings for the show, but it was worse than maybe they expected. So over in America, they pulled in 9.85 million viewers, down from 23.6 million viewers the previous year. It did end up being the highest rating award show of the season, just higher than the 8.8 million who watched the Grammys. But, are we at the stage where the Academy Awards and just award shows in general, not a crowd puller anymore?
Yes. We've known that for a while, I feel. I don't feel like that's...
But do networks know that?
They know that. They've been trying to fix it for years by
Is
trying
it fixable?
different things. No, I don't. Look, unless they want to completely change the show, here's what people want from these award shows. They want MTV Movie Awards, but with a little bit more credibility. That's what people want. Like, you see that tweet that went viral after this where someone pointed out how much better the Game Awards viewership got, right? The Game Awards did 80, 90 million, whatever, compared to Academy Awards doing terribly every year. Yeah, go Gamers.
Well, to be fair, these numbers are purely American numbers.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, so we're comparing very much apples to oranges because that's a live stream show around the world. This is a cable thing. There's just so many factors into that. But also, as much as I enjoy the Game Awards every year and I watch the Emmys, I watch the Academy Awards, Game Awards is more in line to MTV Movie Awards. Because you know what happens at those awards? They have world exclusive fucking trailers for movies or world exclusive clips for movies or this sort of thing. They are popcorn shows. That's what people want from these award shows. That's not what I want from the award shows. In fact, I kind of wish there was the gaming equivalent to Academy Awards is more in line with the DICE Video Game Awards. So, I don't know.
That's fair. Do you think so this year they did have some trailers during the ad breaks. Do you think for upcoming films, do you think that would be something that would pull viewers in? Or do they just need to accept that it's just going to be people who actually want to watch award shows that are going to be watching and just lean into that?
I don't know, because I don't want them to go down that road, even though, look, here's the two parts of this question. Yes, if they want to get more viewership, they need to start doing that stuff. They need to we'll drop a trailer for the next Marvel movie during the Oscars, or, we've got the trailer for Quentin Tarantino's brand new movie during the Oscars, or that's how you get viewers. Plain and simple, that will draw viewers in. Guarantee it. Simple, done. People will tune in to watch that stuff. People tune in to watch the Super Bowl without giving a fuck about the Super Bowl to watch trailers. It's not like you need much evidence to back up this theory. It happens every single year at the Super Bowl. But I don't want that, because for the most part, other than ending, as we discussed in the podcast that went up after the show, I like this show because it is just people getting awards and recognition for their good jobs and getting their time to speak about either whatever they want to speak about. If they just want to speak about how much they love their mom and they brought them up well, I don't really care. If they want to use their time to talk about a social issue that they feel passionate about, I don't really mind. That's what the show is to me, and that's why I would like it to continue, and that's the show I would prefer to watch. So yeah, that's my A and B. That what they need to do to be popular again is not what I would want them to do.
Okay. So I guess that's award season ended for this year. But you can never get in too early for the 2022 Academy Awards. So over on Variety, they've already started making predictions for what's going to be Best Picture next year. So I thought
it's a shorter cycle now, isn't it? Just to clarify, because this one got pushed. This thing. So we had 18 months. We had 18 months or whatever it was until this Oscars.
15 or something.
Something like that, yeah. And then this was pushed a month anyway from what was originally supposed to happen. So that means it'll be the shortest time between like shows next, presumably. If they bring it back to like that February, March, or whatever it's supposed to be. No, February. Yeah.
So yeah, over at Variety, they've already put up their Best Picture predictions for next year. I will say, apparently last year they did predict that Nomadland would win, and they got it right. So who knows? So I'm going to go from 10 through to 1, and you tell me if you think it's going to be Academy Award nominated next year.
How many of these have I seen?
None.
Okay.
All right, so number 10, Flea, coming from Neon, directed by Jonas Poa Ramesson. Flea tells the extraordinary true story of a man, on the verge of marriage, which compels him to reveal his hidden past for the first time. So this is an animated documentary that was released at Sundance earlier this year.
Put out by Neon.
Yes.
I want to watch it, but it will not win. No.
Will it get nominated? That's what I'm going for. Best Picture nominated.
No.
Okay.
Neon wants to be an alt A24, but like A24 only just reached mainstream. So let's just calm down, Neon. Like, give yourself another couple of years.
Yeah. Just be the indie A24 for a little while.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Number 9, Encanto from Walt Disney Pictures.
Pokemon.
Directed by Jared Bush, Brian Howard, and Charisse Castro-Smith. A young Colombian girl has to face the frustration of being the only member of her family without magical powers. So this is the next Walt Disney Pictures animation film.
Will they get nominated for Best Picture? Best Animated Picture? I don't know. I think that might be a stretch.
No, just best Picture. We're talking about top category.
Top category? No.
Yeah. Number 8, Coda. Directed by Shine Hedder, I'm going to go with. As a coda, a child of deaf adults, Ruby is the only hearing person in her deaf family. When the family's fishing business is threatened, Ruby finds herself torn between pursuing a love of music and her fear of abandoning her parents. I believe this won a bunch of awards at Sundance earlier this year.
Yes. And I vote yes.
Okay. Number 7, Don't Worry Your Darlings, from Warner Brothers, directed by Olivia Wilde. A 1950s housewife living with her husband in a utopian experimental community begins to worry about this glamorous company maybe hiding disturbing secrets. Starring Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, Olivia Wilde, Gemma Chan, Chris Pine, Kiki Lane, and Nick Kroll.
Yes, this will be nominated, and it'll be my favorite movie of the year.
Whoa. Big call there.
Could be. It's possible.
Cool. Number 6, Blue Bayou, directed by Justin Chon. As a Korean-American man raised in a Louisiana bayou, works hard to make a life for his family, he must confront the ghosts of his past as he discovers that he could be deported from the only country he has ever called home. Starring Justin Chon, Alicia Vikander, Mark O'Brien, and Emery Cohen.
Yes.
Okay. Number 5, Being the Ricardos, from Amazon Studios, directed by Aaron Sorkin, follow Lucy and Desi as they face a crisis that could end their careers and another that could end their marriage, starring Javier Bardem, Nicole Kidman, J.K. Simmons. This is the I Love Lucy behind the scenes thing.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. Number 4, The Harder They Fall, directed by James Samuel. When an outlaw discovers his enemy is being released from the prison, he reunites his gang to seek revenge in this western. Starring Jonathan Majors, Idris Elba, Lakeith Stanfield, Regina King, Delroy Lindo, Zazie Beetz, and RJ Sala.
Yes.
I do remember we discussing this.
We did.
For Would You Want to Invest? I think you did invest, so...
I did invest, so I got to stick by my...
stick by it?
Guns, yeah.
Next up, we've got number 3, Tick Tick Boom, from Netflix. Lin-Manuel Miranda directing the story of John, an aspiring theatre composer who was waiting tables in New York City while writing Superbia, which he hopes will be the next great American musical and finally give him his break. Starring Andrew Garfield, Bradley Whitford, Vanessa Hudgens, Alexandra Shipp, Judith Light.
I'm gonna go no. I don't know. I need to see more proof of Lin-Manuel Miranda as a director. So
Okay. Number 2, Nightmare Alley from Searchlight Pictures, directed by Guillermo del Toro, an ambitious carny with the talent for manipulating people with few well-chosen words, hooks up with a female psychiatrist who is even more dangerous than he is. Starring Bradley Cooper, Rooney Mara, Kate Blanchett, Toni Collette, David Stranahan, William Dafoe, Ron Perlman, Mary Steinberg,
no.
Richard Jenkins.
Saying no.
Okay. And then their number 1 prediction, House of Gucci, directed by Ridley Scott. The story of how Patrizia Reggiani, the ex-wife of Maurizio Gucci, plotted to kill her husband, the grandson of renowned fashion designer Gucci. Starring Lady Gaga, Adam Driver, Al Pacino, Samuel Hayek, Jared Leto, Jack Houston, and Jeremy Irons.
Let me say, as someone who's seen a lot of on-set photos of this movie, yes, this movie wins.
Yeah. Okay.
It's at least going to win costume and makeup or something. I'll tell you that.
It will be Academy Award winning.
Yes.
All right.
Next to Suicide Squad.
So I guess look forward to next year's Oscars when some of those films will be nominated. According to Dylan.
I could say yes to all of them, because then it's like I've already locked in 8 nominees for the year. There's still movies to come. Come on.
So a story that's gone the rounds very quickly, especially after this film won an Academy Award this past couple of weeks. Another Round is set to get a English language remake with Leonardo DiCaprio set to star. His production company bought the rights to the remake, and people weren't happy because they liked Another Round. But director of Another Round, Thomas Vinterberg, was much more positive, and he said he was full of hope and curiosity, citing his previous English language adaptations of his own work for the stage. I've seen various interpretations of my work before. It's an interesting artistic thing to see something grow into different versions. Now it's in the hands of the finest actor you can get, and besides being a brilliant actor, he has made very intelligent choices throughout his career. I feel there's a lot of integrity in the choices he's made. I'm full of hope and curiosity for what they're up to. So it seems like he's got a bit of seal of approval. He says he doesn't think that Mads would be interested in returning to the role, which makes sense. But yeah, as someone who is very keen to watch Another Round in the coming days, now that it's out on Blu-ray, would you want to see a remake of the film?
It comes out the day this episode drops, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep, there you go.
I mean, you could have bought it today and watched it before this episode.
It's very likely that I have not watched it before this episode drops, but I will be buying it the day this episode drops.
No, it's dropped the day of recording.
Oh! I thought it was out later. Fuck, I should have got it today. Damn. I fucked up. Well, I wouldn't have time today anyway.
No.
Yeah. So I feel like every time these stories are announced, my initial reaction is always just, but why though? Meme, but why though? Alongside the Parasite thing or whatever. I'm trying to be a little bit less yelly Twitter sort of personality about this stuff. And I think my rule going forward is going to be, in general, I think the idea, remaking stuff this quickly is dumb. It's a little bit different if it's, it's a movie that's X amount of years old. But hey, a movie just won Best International Picture at the Oscars. We're remaking it. It's calm the fuck down. It's like Parasite wins Best Picture. We're turning it into a HBO series. It's okay, well, that seems a bit dumb. But I feel like, even though that's my initial reaction, maybe it's just a wait and see what their take is and see if it's at least something different. Because the remakes I hate the most are the ones that are just straight up pointless, like Old Boy remake. where it's nearly shot for shot, does nothing different. Don't care. Psycho remake, literally shot for shot. Put Vince Vaughn in. What's the point? Like, what's your take on the material? So, I guess for these sorts of movies, without having watched another round, it's going to be, well, what's the new spin? Like, what are you injecting in it to make it worthwhile remaking? To have a different angle on it, a more Americanized version, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. Like the same for the Parasite HBO thing. Like, what's the spin? What's the how do you adapt? Like, because Parasite, I feel like maybe does suit where you can adapt the core premise of that. About
class struggle.
What's the fucking word? Yeah, if they're just directly remaking it with the exact same characters and stuff, and just turning them into English speaking white American actors, then I'm like, what's the point? But if it at least has something new to say, then maybe that will make it worthwhile watching at that stage. So yeah, I'm just gotta wait and see, because every time these things happen, anytime they announce they're like doing something that's like a remake or something like that, there have been cases over the years where they've actually been different enough and worthwhile. So I don't know. I'm on two minds. I'm trying to,
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, it'll be several years in development. We won't see it for probably like 5 years if it gets made at all. But it would be interesting to see. It's interesting that he brings up like a theater kind of thing where, you write a play, it gets interpreted many, many different ways by many different audience casts and that kind of stuff. So I guess they could potentially be a similar thing with film. I mean, especially with film loving to remake stuff so quickly and so often. But I'd be interested to check that out if it ever happens. So another story that kind of broke and was kind of expected, I guess. Several Pixar staffers spoke anonymously to Insider to criticize Disney's decision to move some of the animation studio's titles exclusively to streaming platform Disney+. The first Pixar film to sidestep movie studios was Pig Doctor Soul, but many Pixar workers believe that was a one-time decision due to the pandemic shuttering theaters in 2020. However, Disney announced in March that Pixar's Luca would skip theaters and head straight to Disney+, despite theaters reopening and the exhibition market slowly coming back to life. Luca will be available on Disney Plus without the $29.99 premium fee used for Mulan and Raya the Last Dragon. One staffer said, Luca doesn't even have the premium price next to it. Does it make it lesser? It's hard to grasp. We don't want to just be a title on Disney Plus. These movies are crafted for the big screen. We want you to watch these movies with no distractions, no looking at your phones. And a lot more in that story. A few other comments like, everyone is worried about keeping their jobs if our films aren't seen by Disney as financially successful. That kind of stuff. I think we'd heard stories about the from staffers before. Another one said there will not be a change of how we make films. That's what's important. The piece of art. That's what matters. But are they devaluing Pixar by sticking their content straight on Disney Plus without any fee? Why are they doing this to Pixar?
I think. Well, I've always assumed it was just because they had free content to help keep people subscribing. They were just like, well, these movies aren't going to go to the pictures. So, I figured that was the case with Soul the first time they did it. They're like, well, it's not going to the theaters anyway, so we'll just put it on and we'll do this one as a freebie because Mulan went shit. Apparently it didn't sell very well. So we'll see how that goes. But then I felt like they charged for Raya, because Soul did so well, and maybe they were like, oh fuck, people want the animated stuff. Fuck these live action movies. But I don't know if we've actually heard numbers about if Raya did better as a premium title or not. So yeah, I don't know. Either way, I mean, it's not at the end of the day, I'm gonna go watch any of these movies at the theater if they give me the choice. I'm sure a lot of other people would, and I don't think that this is going to be how it is going forward. This surely will end at one stage, although maybe we'll get to to a world where Disney from the outset are like, hey, you're working on this movie. It has a smaller budget, quicker time frame. It's a Disney Plus original animated film. You know, it's got a smaller budget. You know what I mean? Like maybe they'll start investing in stuff like that for the library going forward. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's a weird one because I get what they're saying, but I'm also just like, I understand why they're doing it to help.
You understand the business decision?
Yeah.
But also the staffers have reason to be upset that, you know, that they're kind of getting, they're giving their stuff away for free, effectively. You know, as long I'm sure they very much want just as many people to see it as they possibly can, but I'm sure there's a certain ego element of that. At least your art has worth, and if I'm sure they're feeling like, to a certain degree, that their art isn't being valued, seeing as they're just giving it away.
Well, I mean, like Soul just won Best Animated Picture, so. Like
lowest grossing animated picture winner of all time.
Yeah. You know, but you know what I mean? Like to say it's like undervalued. Yeah. It's I don't know. It's an interesting. Like I get what they're saying, but ultimately I'm just, again, Soul won an Oscar. Soul was highly praised by everyone for the most part. It blew up. Everyone was talking about it on Twitter. If their whole thing is if it is simply we spent years making this movie and we just want people to watch it the way we intended, which is on the cinema, I get it. But like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I think it's hard when literally a film that's almost identical to yours in format is given this $30 price tag, but yours isn't. Is just given away.
Maybe they should take turns. One Disney. One's Pixar free.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess we'll see going forward. Yeah, but I guess again, reiterating, we're all very disappointed we can't see Luca on the big screen.
Yep.
So apparently, Warner Brothers is making, well, Legendary at least is quote quietly taking steps to stretch the MonsterVerse franchise into one or more installments. Talking to Adam Wingard, of course, the director of Godzilla vs. Kong, and to potentially return to direct a sequel, which could potentially be called Son of Kong. Does that entice you at all?
No.
Cool. Moving on.
There's my Nick answer for the week. No, not really. I don't really know where I want them to take that franchise, but that's not the direction that excites me. Like if I was in a room and if I had someone like pitch a bunch of different ideas for the franchise going forward, it's like pick which one excites you the most on general reaction. And if I heard that, I would go next one.
Listen,
next one.
Yeah, let me pitch it. It's obviously Kong, very old. Like he's not like a young dude. He came up from the whatever world they're called. Whatever it was called, it's got in this article, the Hollow World, Hollow Earth, in the middle of the planet. You know, before he left the Hollow Earth, he had a kid. This kid is coming back to have revenge on his father for deserting him. It's Kong versus Kong. And then they just resolve their problems by talking it out. You know, the kid just really wanted his dad to be there for all the important moments of his life. He was playing baseball down on Hollow Earth. You know, wasn't there. You know, all the other Kongs made fun of him. You know, all the other monsters teased him because he didn't have a dad. You know? and then the movie ends with them hugging it out. No buildings destroyed.
That's Daddy wasn't there. He didn't care.
I'd watch it.
Sure. Yeah, I'll watch that. You've changed my mind.
Yeah. Hit me up, Legendary. Last story. So the team behind The Witcher TV series, as well as The Expanse, are set to adapt the World of Darkness universe, which currently comprises a bunch of tabletop games as well as a few video games. They're going to be bringing stories from that world to TV and film. They're also teaming up with Paradox Interactive, so they're definitely people who know a lot about that universe. Of course, that universe properties include Werewolf the Apocalypse, Mage the Ascension, Orpheus, and Hunter the Reckoning. Dylan, as someone who has followed a bunch of World of Darkness potential video games that get delayed and never come out, would you be keen to see stories from that world on the big screen?
Yeah, I mean, it's vampires and werewolves and shit. Just interconnected. You can do a big interconnected universe. It's prime for a TV series where you could have one series introduce the vampires, another introduce the werewolves, and you can lead to a big crossover event with different characters and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like it would make a great series if done right and has interesting characters, and they play hardcore into like the horror vibe and elements, and not sexy vampires or something. Go hardcore, go fucked up vampires. Or both, I guess.
Maybe. I guess you could have the other one as well.
As soon as I said it, I was like, you know what? You can have both.
Yeah, have the other one. I don't care. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, as people who cover video games, this World of Darkness constantly seems to be popping up every few weeks with a new project and that kind of thing. Yeah, I'd be interested, I don't know much about the actual source material, but, more monster stuff.
Well, it's a
cool.
it's a board game.
As long as people don't get it confused with the Dark Universe. Not that many people could get it confused, seeing as there's only one film, but...
it's a dead franchise.
It is a dead franchise, but, people are easily confused. All right, let's wrap things up. Let's wrap things up on this episode of What Do You Want to Watch with our What Do You Want to Watch top 3.
Definitely in the top 3.
So over in America, Scott Pilgrim is set to return to the big screen 11 years after it originally came out. So I figured this week we'd do top 3 films you wish you could watch on the big screen again. So yeah, there were no other qualifiers other than that. So Dylan, what's your number 3?
I feel like I'm memeing at this point, but my number 3 is La La Land. So I only watched La La Land once on the big screen, and if it was to show back up at my cinema tomorrow, I would, without a doubt, happily go and rewatch the movie again. I mean, so when I was trying to think about this, I was like, am I just going to pick movies that I like? But then I might, maybe not. But what are the actual? I had to go narrow it down to which are the ones that I would actually enjoy rewatching on the big screen, or haven't got to experience in a big screen way. Because at first I was like, do I just put every Star Wars movie or every Fast and Furious movie? Or, something like that. But no, La La Land, that's a fantastic movie to watch on the big screen. I should have probably just gone and watched it twice, but didn't happen. I would love to go watch it. That's definitely a movie that's better suited to big screen, full sound system and everything. So love it.
Yeah, absolutely. My number 3, been tossing up a bunch of them. I'm going to end up going with Gravity. Obviously, the Alfonso Cuarón film, starring Sandra Bullock, George Clooney, which is in space. Pretty much built to be experienced at the cinema.
Did you ever watch it on Blu-ray or anything?
No, I never watched it on Blu-ray.
I did. It was fucking boring. After compared to watching it on the big screen, watching it at home, I was like, nah, this is just this. Maybe if I hadn't have watched it on the cinema first, and I'd only watch it on Blu-ray, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is alright or whatever. But trying to watch it at home after watching it on the cinema first, you're like, no, this is just a bad way to watch this movie.
Yeah. So, I really enjoyed it when I watched it that time, and I can't imagine it working any other way, obviously, with the incredible sound design and, that kind of stuff. So that's something I'd like to go watch in the cinema again. Dylan, what's your number 2?
Number 2, oh, fucking meant to blank there for a second. I had to look at my list, but I feel like I had it memorized. My number 2 is The Raid 2. Yeah, see, I wasn't sure on your exact wording. I was like, is it movies I've already seen in the cinema? Or just one? Okay. So obviously The Raid 2 is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it. I've watched it a bunch. However, every time I've watched it, it has been ever since I imported my original copy from the UK because it didn't come out here until sometime later. And I never got to watch it on the cinema screen. And if I was the one movie that I have not seen on the big screen that I adore is The Raid 2. So if anyone would like to put on a screening for that and I can attend it, that would be fantastic because, come on, one of, if not the best action movie of all time. I need to see that on the big screen.
Wow. Yeah. It's pretty good. My number 2, Speed Racer. What a visual delight.
What a visual delight.
A visually interesting film that I would have loved to have seen on the big screen. I don't think I watched Speed Racer until it was very much on Blu-ray. So I'm the reason the Speed Racer franchise never took off. Wasn't giving those cinemas dollars. But yeah, obviously the style that Wachowskis went with that film, I very much love and appreciate, and I would love to watch it on big screen where I can appreciate all the crazy special effects and visual stuff they're going for on however big the screens are. I don't know, 30 foot, 40 foot.
I don't actually know.
50 foot.
Yeah, I don't know. Depends where you are, I guess.
Sure. All right. Dylan, what's your number 1?
Number 1 is one of my all-time favorite movies I've watched in the cinema, and another one that I never went back and watched for whatever reason, and I really wish I could go rewatch it again. And that is Mad Max Fury Road.
Dylan, my number 1. Mad Max Fury Road.
Well, there's a definitive answer to this top 3 then, isn't there? There ain't no fucking around.
Yeah.
So when Fury Road originally came down, when it released, I drove down the Devonport here because they have a much better cinema there. They've got a C-Max, which is like it's not IMAX, but we're slightly better than your average Joe Schmo village cinema around here. So went down, watched it there, and that's still. I remember sitting in a seat there, and when it you have that whole opening sequence, and then eventually it has the title card. It comes out like Mad Max Fury Road, and it's got you just hear all the car engines revving and shit like that. I was like, holy fuck, I'm in for a ride. Little did you know, an hour later, you're going to be witnessing one of the greatest just chase sequences that's in the entire movie.
Entire movie.
It's fucking because that I've enjoyed watching that at home since, and I brought the Blu-ray when it came out, watched it again. I was like, great movie, but it just felt off. After watching it on the cinema, it just wasn't the same. I watched the when I got my 4K player, one of the first. Oh no, just the straight 4K release was one of the first 4K Blu-rays I got when I got my 4K player, and that was really good to watch because visually. In case you haven't watched that movie in 4K, you don't have 4K player or anything like that, but you've seen the movie. You know the sequence where they go into the sandstorm or whatever you want to call it, the lightning sandstorm thing. HDR adds a lot to that scene. It's night and day to compare that scene on 4K with HDR compared to a straight Blu-ray. And that was really good, but again, still, it's not the cinema. It wasn't. I just don't have the big enough screen. You can't. Matt, that movie is literally whatever screen you've got inside your house. You could have a 70-inch TV, and I'm still going to say you could have an 80, 90, 100-inch TV in your fucking living room, and I'm still going to say that TV ain't big enough for what that movie deserves to be watched on. It needs bigger. Yep. So, that is the movie I would love to watch again, and maybe hopefully. Before the next one comes out, they could do a re-release because I'll be all about that.
Yeah, it's definitely a film that I remember fondly watching in the cinema, and I don't know. Yeah, it's just something about that, the scale that lends itself to the cinema, and I think seeing it obviously is great on Blu-ray and that kind of stuff, but to watch it on the big screen again, would be fantastic. Even if it was just, with a brand new audience who has never seen it, would be awesome to see that film again with. But yeah, just to see it again on the big screen would be sweet.
that movie is really another one you could pinpoint as to imagine if that just got released on Netflix and that was how you were forced to watch it. That would be fucking disastrous. that would be disgusting if that was, because we're always talking about like, Netflix is buying the rights to this movie. Like, I had to watch Irishman at home. I didn't get to watch it in the cinema. I would have preferred I would have preferred to watch it in the cinema. I didn't feel like I got too cheated by having to watch it at home. Like at the end of the day, it was, there was it had some nice.
That wasn't a movie that desperately needed a big screen.
I didn't need to see that on the big screen. I just would have preferred to have the option. But if there was a case where Mad Max Fury Road had been bought by Netflix, my God, like just what a complete waste of that movie it would be to have to be forced to watch that at home. Disgusting.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you know anybody who runs cinemas and can hook us up with these films, let us know. By following us on Twitter. You can find us both on Twitter by going to explosionetwork.com/Twitter or jump into our Discord at explosionetwork.com/Discord. If you want to help us out, help the podcast out, leave us a review. Apple Podcasts, Podchaser. Just write nice things on Twitter. Or just tell a friend about the show. If you like this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosionetwork.com/support. Buy us a coffee, or you can go to explosionetwork.com/support us. A bunch of other different ways you can help us out, including buying a shirt. Explosion Network shirt. There's no what do you want watch shirt yet. Just putting those facts out there. All right. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.